your marketing consultant. Hey, you guys know how much I like hats. And so today I thought I would go for the Gilligan's Island look. Yeah, I found this hat here. I put on this burgundy shirt. Gilligan used to wear red with a white collar. So I said, let's rock that today. I think it looks pretty good. But I digress. I often get asked, and especially by beginning artists, how do I find my own style? I mean, everybody wants to draw uniquely, just like everybody wants to dance uniquely, just like everybody wants to sing uniquely. You don't want to be boring, but you want to find your own style, your own vocal expression, your own visual expression. But people talk about this, but how do you do that? Well, I'm going to touch on a couple of ways, but in way of analogy, I'm going to use my big brother Clyde. My brother Clyde was a Golden Gloves champion when we were kids. In fact, he had a reputation of pretty much being able to beat up anybody once he laced on the gloves. I remember one time my brother kind of beat up a couple of street gang members. We were walking in the park. They saw the gloves hanging around his neck and they challenged him to a fight. And he pretty much beat up about four or five of them. But see, in those days, back in the 70s, street gang members, they had a code of honor. You know, they would fight you one on one. And if you weren't a punk, meaning you didn't cringe and fold and plead for mercy, they pretty much let you go if you gave a good account of yourself. And so he was able to do that, but I'm still digressing. I just wanted to brag on my brother Clyde. Okay, so about this style thing, I remember we watched a fight for the first time on TV, you know, with this big, black, handsome guy who seemed like he was floating around the ring. He was a heavyweight, but he fought like he was much smaller. And my brother, we didn't know his name at the time, and we said, we want to see that black guy that boxes again. Well, that was our first introduction to boxing, and that was back in the day when you could actually watch on your TV set boxing. It was a fabulous, fabulous golden age, let me tell you. And so my brother became influenced by this guy, Muhammad Ali. Okay, nobody fought like him. And my brother, he just fell wholeheartedly into boxing. He imitated Ali. And there were a lot of imitators of Ali back in the day when you go into the boxing gym. But for some reason, my brother he found it extremely easy to fight like Ali. He had the attitude, he had the timing, he had the footwork. It was just really incredible to watch him. Me, I didn't do so good, but he was fabulous. And all he was doing was having fun. And since Ali was his only role model, that's who he imitated. And consequently, he was also subject to the same weaknesses that Ali was. Not surprisingly, one of his weaknesses was a left hook. But again, I'm getting too far away from the topic of style. Style comes from, I would have to say, looking at a variety of sources, using imitation, copying, mimicking, whatever you want to call it, using that, and then putting your own particular spin on it. Now, my brother loved Ali, but he couldn't fight exactly like Ali because they had physical differences. They had other life experiences. So he fought like Ali his way. And it's the same way when it comes to art. When you start looking at artwork, whether it's cartoons or animation, you know, paintings, caricature, whatever it is, there are going to be some artists that you resonate with or keep coming back to more than other artists. And I suggest something that a lot of people disagree with, but I suggest you copy. that you copy assiduously. You find an artist that you like and you mimic them. You try to get as close to their style as possible. And I found out when you do that, it's like getting a free art lesson from that particular artist, whether they're alive or whether they're dead. For me, I loved making fun of people. Yes, even with this face as a kid, I liked making fun of me. Like, that's a Freudian slip. I liked making fun of other people, and apparently with this face, they liked making fun of me. So it was a kind of a two-way street. And so I found out about a variety of artists I sought out who like to make fun of people. And one of the influences that I had was this artist called Basil, Basil Wolverton. Remember that name? When you get off this live, look him up because he has, quote, the most amazingly grotesque, horrific style of drawing people and caricatures that you ever want to see. Basil Wolverton became noticed because there was a comic strip called Little Abner back in the day, and one of their characters who they would never show the face of was called Lena the hyena. And one day the comic strip had a contest and said, "Hey, let's get the fans involved." And so they would give some kind of prize or feature the artwork of somebody who came up with the face of Lena the hyena. And let me tell you, Basil turned in a drawing that would absolutely make you puke on your shoes. I'm not kidding. And so I loved his artwork and devoured everything that he did. I kept a barf bag in one hand and a pencil in the other, and I copied his work fanatically. And what happened as a result, elements of his work began to creep into my style when I would draw my own cartoons. It was something that I just noticed happen. I wasn't trying to, on purpose, make something happen or purposely draw like Basil, because I didn't have his skill, but elements of his work would seep into my cartoonist soul. Another artist who really, really resonated with me was R. Crumb, Robert Crumb, the master. Now, being a religious church going boy, it was kind of not right for me to be checking out R. Crumb's work. First of all, when you came to the comic store, it was in the X-rated section. So I automatically felt bad about drawing X-rated and looking at pornographic comics, but I was so compelled again by this guy's style. The way Robert Crumb drew his characters, they had size and they had weight. I mean, it was a two-dimensional drawing, but he drew in such a way that his figures looked like they were sinking into the sidewalk. If you've ever seen him draw pictures of women, especially in short shorts and high heels, you know what I mean. Not high heels, platform shoes. And he just drew the most beautiful backgrounds also to support, his figures, and that's what it looked like. Like the background was supporting the figures, and he had such a way of drawing that there was so much life pulsating from every page, and it seemed like everything was moving, like those cartoons that you see in the 1940s, which I also like. And so he was a big influence. And I noticed one day that somebody told me, one of my clients said, your artwork looks like R. Crumb. Again, I was influenced by him. I copied his work. Incidentally, I had to tear it up because mom would see, and I'd be in big trouble. But I used to copy his work, and I wasn't trying to draw like him, but somehow his work creeped in to my style and influenced me. It became a part of my mix. And there was so many others. There was Hanna-Barbera, who had like I hope I'm saying this word right. He had a plethora. Did I say that right? I think so. A plethora of cartoon characters. Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, the Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, just so many. Snagglepuss, exit stage right, exit stage left. I like that cartoon. He had so many characters, especially anthropomorphic characters that I just copy. And like I've been saying since the beginning of this video, slowly but surely Hanna-Barbera's characters, the way he drew, especially animal cartoons, began to creep into my style. Now, if you look at my videos that I've posted on here, you'll see those influences of highly exaggerated caricatures. That's the Basil Wolvington influence. You'll see the animal characters, like I did recently on, what was it that I did? When I was making fun of man-eating dogs or something like that. You can find it here on the channel. That's Hanna-Barbera. But you might ask, where are you? And I would say this: when you begin to draw like your cartoon influence, it becomes sort of like a crazy kind of soup that gets stirred and floats around and until you just come to a stop, and then you'll start drawing your particular unique style of artwork. And it's going to be, even though you've borrowed and learned from others, it's like you're really learning from their handwriting when you copy another artist's work. And it makes sense because when you're a child and you're learning the alphabet, when you're learning the letters, at least this is how it happened when I was a kid. When you're learning the alphabet, they would give you a sheet that would be kind of transparent or in blue letters so that you can copy. You would literally copy inside the lines A, B, C, D. You would trace it literally. That's what would happen. You would trace it. And when you did that, your eye-hand coordination at some point would kick in, and then you'd start printing the letters. Interestingly enough, in your particular handwriting. But your A would still look like an A, your B would still look like a B, your C would still look like a C, even though you learned it by copying. And it's the same exact way when you're doing cartoons and when you are doing caricatures. So that's my advice for you. I suggest that you find out what you're looking for, what attracts you to a particular artist, whether they be caricature artists or a particular cartoonist or animator, no matter what that is. Once you find the one that you like, copy them a lot. Copy the way they do their poses, the way they do their setups. Copy the way, and with caricature, the way they draw the most mundane details like teeth. I'm not kidding. There's a guy by the name, he's brilliant. His name is Glenn Ferguson. Glenn Ferguson draws the funniest teeth. It's a weird thing to focus on, but he draws the funniest teeth. There's a guy by the name of what is his name? I forget his first name, but his last name, Chris Chua. Chris Chua has an exaggerated avant-garde type of abstract caricature style where the characters look like the caricature, look like the person, but then they don't. It's kind of a crazy way to describe it, but his work is so compelling, so unbelievable in its exaggeration that you look at it one moment and you say, this guy totally lost the exaggeration. And you look at it the next moment, you can see the likeness. It's amazing. I'm naming artists here left and right because in the caricature world, there are so many brilliant artists that the world at large don't really know about them. And they're masters at their art. If I could name drop some other guys that I like, there's Roger Hurtado, okay? There's Ken Lee Dillard. I reference Ken Lee Dillard, a lot. There's Joe Blum. There's Chris Chua, which I've said. There's I forget the artist's first name is, but his last name is Goodman. He does exaggerated caricature style, abstract like Chris Chua. Oh man, there's just so many. There's Glenn Ferguson, that I mentioned, and just so many others are artists that I've worked with, like Allison Geldman, who has a cartoony engaging style. So many. So that's another thing that I recommend you do. Seek out caricature artists in your area, and just go online, and you'll find so many styles that one of them will definitely resonate with you. And like I've been saying on this channel before, caricature is the number one way that you can make money as a visual artist. And I don't care if you draw highly exaggerated, photorealistic, super cartoony. There's people out there who draw butt characters. There's caricatures out there that look like stick figures. It's out there. Any conceivable style. And the reason why that is because on your worst drawing day, you draw 10 times better than your audience does on their best drawing day. And that's the power in that. So go out there, find your own style, and keep me posted. And let me know if you like this particular hat. This is Elgin, Subway Surfer Bowling, your creative caricature marketing consultant. That's my hand.